You can feel it, can't you? That quiet tension beneath the surface of your life. The pull between wanting to be seen and needing to be focused. The pressure to explain, to share, to announce every goal, every move, every thought. But deep down, you know something's off. Because the more you speak, the weaker you feel. The more you share, the more scattered you become. And the more you seek attention, the more invisible you actually become. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, do the work, say less, move silently. Because when you're constantly talking, you're not building. When you're seeking validation, you're giving away your power. In 2025, the world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more performance. It needs quiet power, focused minds, men and women who build in the shadows, who rise with no announcement, who strike when no one sees it coming. That's the Stoic mindset. That's the silent revolution. This episode is about reclaiming your energy, your focus, and your strength, not through volume, but through silence, through discipline, through action. Because the most dangerous man is the one no one sees coming. Let's begin. 1. Stop handing people the map to your life. There's a quiet kind of power that comes from moving in silence, a calm intensity, a focused energy. But most people never tap into it because they give it away. Every time you explain your next move, every time you announce your plans, every time you ask someone what they think, you're handing them the map to your life. And once they have the map, they start to redraw it. They question your route. They point out the obstacles. Some even plant doubts or try to sabotage the path altogether. Not always out of malice, but out of fear, jealousy, or their own limitations. And suddenly, a dream that felt so clear becomes clouded with noise. You start asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? When just days ago, you were certain. Seneca once said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. But if you're constantly broadcasting your direction to people who don't understand your vision, don't share your values, or don't have the courage to chase their own path, they will only weaken your resolve. I've seen it too many times. Someone gets inspired, sets a goal, and before they've taken the first real step, they're talking about it to everyone they know. Friends, family, social media. They get the dopamine hit from the attention, from the likes, from the, wow, that's amazing. But the fire starts to fade. Why? Because they already got the reward, the illusion of progress, without doing the work. They mistook talking about it for building it. But a Stoic doesn't move that way. A Stoic keeps his power close to the chest. He doesn't reveal his strategy. He sharpens his blade in the dark, trains while the world sleeps, builds while others scroll. And when the time comes, he acts. No noise, no warning, no need for approval. When you stop handing out the map to your life, something shifts. You begin to trust yourself more. You no longer feel the need to prove or explain. You conserve your energy for execution, not explanation. And without the weight of other people's opinions, your vision becomes sharper. Your direction becomes yours again. So here's the challenge. Hold your next move in silence. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Let your results do the talking. The world doesn't need your plans. It needs your proof. 2. Social media is mind poison. Let's be honest. Social media is not just a distraction. It's a drug. And like any drug, it gives you a high before it steals your power. Every like, every view, every follower feels like progress. But it's not. It's noise. And the longer you stay in that loop, the harder it is to hear your own thoughts. The Stoics knew this long before smartphones ever existed. Epictetus warned us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In today's world, that means being willing to disappear, to unplug, to do the work in silence, without applause, without an audience. Because real strength isn't validated by likes. It's forged in solitude. The truth is, craving attention weakens you. It divides your focus. It makes you perform instead of produce. You start building a version of yourself for the feed, not for the future. You post about your progress instead of actually making progress. And worst of all, you start to believe the illusion. You start to think that perception is reality, that clout is currency, and that approval equals success. But here's what most people miss. The strongest men don't talk about what they're building. They don't brag about their hustle. They don't need to post motivational quotes or flex their discipline. Why? Because they're too busy living it. I remember a time when I fell into the trap myself. I'd post every win, every small achievement, hoping people would notice. And when they didn't, I felt empty, like I hadn't done enough. It wasn't until I stopped sharing everything that I finally understood. Real satisfaction comes from doing, not displaying. From showing up every day, silently stacking bricks with no one watching. When you remove yourself from the circus of public opinion, everything changes. Your mind becomes quieter. Your focus sharpens. Your standards rise. You stop measuring your progress in likes and start measuring it in hours of deep work, in results, in inner peace. Social media is not evil, but it is engineered to hook your attention and exploit your ego. And if you don't set boundaries, it will drain your ambition and distract you from your mission. So ask yourself, are you building your life, or are you curating a highlight reel? The Stoic path demands discipline, silence, focus, and above all, indifference to outside approval. Your strength is not found in what you post. It's found in what you build when no one's watching. 3. Protect your mind. Like a fortress, your mind is your command center. Every decision, every habit, every emotion, it all starts there. And yet, most people guard their phones better than their thoughts. They let anyone and anything walk right in, drop chaos at the doorstep, and stay for as long as they want. But a Stoic doesn't allow that. A Stoic guards his mind like a fortress. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But here's the truth. Most people don't protect that power. They expose it. They leave it vulnerable. They scroll endlessly, consume meaningless noise, gossip, opinions, outrage. They let the world shape their thinking. And the result? A scattered, reactive, exhausted mind. One that can't hear itself think. A weak mind lets every voice in. It welcomes distractions like they're harmless guests, not realizing they're invaders. Every negative comment, every comparison, every mindless piece of content. These are not small things. They're micro intrusions. And over time, they wear down your clarity, your purpose, your peace. But a strong mind is selective. It chooses what to let in. It's intentional about input. It doesn't chase gossip. It doesn't dwell on other people's opinions. It filters the noise and feeds only on what sharpens the blade. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I consumed everything. News, trends, debates, distractions. I told myself I was staying informed. But in reality, I was just diluting my focus. I couldn't sit in silence. I couldn't hold a clear thought. My mind was always racing, never resting. It wasn't until I cut the noise, set boundaries, and started protecting my attention like a warrior guards his sword that I regained control. Now, I treat my mental space like sacred ground. I don't allow gossip in. I don't entertain negativity. I don't give my energy to people who drain it. Instead, I read things that challenge me. I listen to silence. I guard my focus like it's my greatest asset. Because it is. If you want to do great things, you need a mind that's clean, clear, and unshakable. And that means defending it with everything you've got. So build your mental fortress. Set up walls around your peace. Eliminate what doesn't serve you. And remember, Your mind becomes what you feed it. Fill it with strength, silence, and clarity, and there's nothing you can't do. 4. Let them think you're nothing, then strike. There is a unique kind of power in being underestimated. In a world obsessed with appearances, noise, and self-promotion, being quiet is a weapon. When you speak less, post less, reveal less, people start to assume. They assume you're not doing much, that you're unambitious, that you're weak, average, passive. And that's exactly when you become dangerous. Because while they're talking, you're training. While they're showing off, you're building in silence. While they mock or ignore you, you're becoming the version of yourself they'll never see coming. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And the same applies to your power. Don't explain your plan. Don't defend your work ethic. Don't try to convince people that you're serious. Prove it, not with words, but with results. You want to shake the world? Good. Then let the world sleep on you. Let them doubt you. Let them write you off. And while they do, go to war in the dark. Master your craft. Strengthen your mind. Elevate your discipline. Sharpen your edge. The greatest warriors of history weren't loud. They didn't announce their arrival. They moved with precision, patience, and control. When they struck, it was sudden, devastating, final. That's how you move when you're focused, not like a performer, but like a threat. I remember a time when I was overlooked, written off by people who thought I didn't have what it took. They laughed at my silence, mistook it for lack of vision. They didn't see the long nights. They didn't see the work. And that's exactly why it worked. Because when the moment came, I was ready, and they weren't. There's no better feeling than succeeding in silence, than watching the look of disbelief on the faces of those who thought you were nothing. That's not revenge. That's evolution. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them joke. That's the distraction they need. While they stare at each other, waiting for the noise, you keep moving quietly, and when the time is right, you strike. Not for applause, not for validation, but because that's what a dangerous man does. 5. Walking away is the ultimate power move. Power isn't always in confrontation. Sometimes the most dominant move you can make is no move at all. No argument, no drama, no final explanation, just silence and absence. We've been conditioned to think that walking away is weakness, that staying and fighting for attention, for respect, for approval is strength. But here's the truth. The man who can walk away from anything that insults his worth is the man who truly owns himself. Because when you walk away, quietly, without burning down the room, you show the world something rare: control. Seneca once wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." That includes the power to disengage, to remove yourself from toxic people, dead-end situations, or expectations that were never yours to carry. It takes strength to stay silent in a room where everyone's trying to be heard. It takes power to exit when your ego is begging you to stay and prove your point. Think about the times you stayed too long, in conversations where your voice was dismissed, in friendships where your energy was drained, in jobs where your value was ignored. You stayed because you thought walking away would make you look weak, but all it did was weaken you from within. You taught people how to treat you by showing them what you would tolerate. I've walked away from people who thought I needed them, from rooms that no longer matched the man I was becoming, from situations that tested my peace more than my potential. And each time the silence afterward was louder than any speech I could have given. Because walking away without a word echoes. It leaves a presence in your absence. And often that silence is what finally gets heard. The Stoic doesn't chase validation. He doesn't beg to be understood. He doesn't stay where respect is missing. He simply walks with dignity. And in doing so, he reminds the world that real power doesn't announce itself. It removes itself. If you truly want to command fear and respect, not through intimidation, but through presence, Master the art of walking away from noise, from disrespect, from anything that threatens your clarity, your values, or your peace. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult needs a reply. And not every person deserves access to your life. Walk away, not to prove something, but because you have nothing left to prove. The silent revolution has already begun. The world is addicted to noise, constant updates, endless opinions, performative ambition. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, praised. But the ones who truly shape the future, they're not talking. They're not showing off. They're not seeking approval. They're moving in silence. 2025 is not for noise. It's for results. It's for the man who doesn't need to be congratulated to stay consistent. The man who doesn't chase likes to feel valuable. The man who doesn't waste energy explaining himself to people who were never listening. We've explored 5 ways to master the silent path. Stop handing people the map to your life. Reject the poison of social media validation. Fortify your mind like a fortress. Let them underestimate you. Then strike without warning. And when necessary, walk away with no explanation, just power. Marcus Aurelius didn't write for attention. He wrote to sharpen his mind. Epictetus didn't teach to impress. He taught to liberate. Seneca didn't chase applause. He chased virtue. That's the Stoic way. And that's the way forward for anyone who's tired of wasting their energy on distractions and noise. From this point on, let your silence speak for you. Let your discipline be your voice. Let your actions do the talking. Be the storm that moves in silence and transforms everything it touches, not with hype, but with impact. Because the most dangerous man isn't the loudest in the room. He's the one you never saw coming.